Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I am Mitchell Thomas, your host of Between the Post, a brand new podcast that has just gotten underway. Well, today, so you get to be the first ones to listen to it. And glad you're here with us, and glad you're here listening. What we're going to do today is we're going to talk about the upcoming University of Tennessee's baseball season, and it is just around the corner. It is October 13th, and it's Friday the 13th, actually. And what we are only about 3 or 4 months away from baseball being in full swing. So right now you got practices going on, and teams have already reported to practice and started conditioning and getting to the weight rooms and getting on the field for practices. And one of the bigger things around here, obviously everybody knows that last year former head coach Dave Serrano would go, and Tony Vitello came in. He has spent the past 4 seasons as an assistant coach and recruiting coordinator at Arkansas. He has been working for 15 years in baseball as an assistant overall. Vitello has worked with teams with 12 NCAA tournament appearances and has been considered one of the top recruiters in the nation for baseball. Athletic director John Curry, this was his first big hire as athletic director at the University of Tennessee, and everybody's really excited about Tony Vitello coming in. Unfortunately, Serrano could not get it done here in 6 tries. He could not get Tennessee back into a regional or super regional tournament, and that was basically the Achilles heel for him. He always had great pitching. Dave Serrano, he's known for his pitching coaches' ability to develop pitchers, and that was one thing that he always had here. He always had good pitching, and just couldn't ever really get the bats around because his West Coast style of offense when his team is at the plate was just not really working out here because you've got so much power here in the SEC when it comes to baseball. And later on in the show, what we're going to do is we're going to have senior catcher, starting catcher, 4-year starter, Benito Santiago. He's going to come on with us and talk to us a little bit. But our first interview today is going to be with Jay Wilson. Jay, why don't you go ahead and tell the people what year you are in school?
I am a senior here at UT, and my major is communication studies.
And what is your job position that gets you so close to the Tennessee baseball team?
I am an intern in the marketing department, or now known as Fan Experience.
And you get to be able to talk to players one-on-one about certain things and things like that, correct?
Yeah, every now and then I do get to have a little one-on-one time with players from certain sports. Yeah.
As someone who is able to get around the team a reasonable amount, I would say, can you see a difference in the team's body language and confidence going into this year with new head coach Tony Vitello?
Yeah, huge body language, change in body language. You can definitely see that everyone's confident and more comfortable with this coach. They feel they can be themselves and actually play the game they came here to play.
Do you think this team has a solid foundation of leadership?
Yes, even though they lost a good few players last year and only have 3 seniors coming back, I feel like the leadership roles that everybody has taken have really come around.
Do you think this is a team that has a chance to go back to Hoover in the SEC tournament or maybe even proceed a little further?
Even though it is an entirely new coaching staff, very young team, I do see them at least making it to the SEC tournament again. I do.
Yeah, there's only 14 teams in the SEC and 12 of those teams make it, so hopefully that's something that Tennessee can get done this year. So, Jay, what is one thing that you could definitely see that this Tennessee baseball team can improve on this year?
Me personally, what I saw has already happened. It was the coaching staff change. And a lot of people's eyes, and mine in general, that was huge. From what I could see, from what I've heard, the last coaching staff kind of had the players feeling like they were held back and couldn't really play their game. They felt like they couldn't be themselves on or off the field, and I feel like with this new coaching staff, that changes a lot. And in any sport, like, the more comfortable you are playing, the better off everything goes. So for me, the coaching change was the biggest difference. Yeah.
You know, and I absolutely agree with you, Jay, and I appreciate your time, and I wish you luck on your endeavors in the future.
Thank you.
And for our next guest, what we're going to do is we're going to have a big Tennessee baseball fan. He's been a big Tennessee baseball fan for the majority of his life, but we'll get to him in just a second. Quick reminder that in just a few minutes we're going to have starting catcher Benito Santiago on the air with us, and whose father is obviously Benito Santiago, and he's had a long career. He had a long career. He was obviously a catcher as well. He's from Puerto Rico, and he played for the San Diego Padres, the Florida Marlins for a little bit, the Cincinnati Reds, the Phillies, the Blue Jays, and even the San Francisco Giants for a while. And he ended up winning Rookie of the Year, and he did a great job in 20 seasons in MLB, and he's had a career batting average of about 264, which is absolutely fantastic. If you're in baseball, you get 3 hits out of 10, and you're basically a Hall of Famer. But what we're going to do is we're going to get to a good friend, R.B. Lounsbury, who is going to be on the air with us. And this next interview we have for you is basically a baseball expert himself. Played for quite a while, but now and still is an avid Tennessee baseball fan. Where are you from, RB?
I'm born and raised here in Knoxville, Tennessee.
And you've been watching Vol baseball for quite a long time. So how long is that?
That's probably since I was a kid. Yeah, growing up, enjoyed watching the Vols very much. My family, we were avid Vols fans. My brothers were the first ones to take me down to Lindsey Nelson, and I never stopped.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, since you have been watching Tennessee baseball for so long, I'm sure you got to see the last coaching staff that was here in Knoxville. And do you think that the new coaching staff under Tony Vitello will make a difference in this upcoming season?
Personally, for me, I really think it will. I did see a lot of things that happened last year to where it made me question some of the decisions that were made on the staff. And I'm just, ready for the boys to go out there and really enjoy their game this year. I think Vitello brings a new youthful energy that, the boys are needing. And I feel like it's really going to help us this year and hopefully propel us to the SEC championship.
Yeah, and as a fan, what would you think seems to need the most improvement as to previous teams?
Well, what I've noticed from last year, we definitely need to, bring more bats to the table. We did have some real positive experiences at the plate. We had a few key players there, especially some ones that we just recently lost. But this year, I really think we need to bring it. I think we can. I think we have been putting a lot of really good work in the offseason. But, when springtime comes around, we're really going to have to show and prove if we really want to be, contenders here in this race.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. And last year, I think one of the biggest issues was that some of the suspensions and the reasonings behind the suspensions, we won't get into that, but the suspensions were really something that hurt the Vols, and they're getting those players back, and a couple of those guys are seniors.
Yes, sir. That's real huge that we're getting those guys back. I personally was questioning some of the decisions made by the suspensions that came about last year. But, we got to let bygones be bygones. We got changes coming our way, and I feel like the tide's in our favor.
I absolutely agree. So what's your honest prediction about next year's season, and do you think they'll play for an SEC tournament or even further?
Personally, like I was harping on before, excuse me, I didn't mean to say championship tournament. So when we go in, I feel like we're going to have a pretty good chance of getting back there. I feel as though we just need to put our heads down from the gate, or else we're not going to be as successful as I feel like we need to be, and we can be.
And you know what? I agree with you, RB, and we appreciate your time, and we wish you the best of luck the rest of the year, and hope to see you graduating in the spring.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
And another fantastic interview right there from RB, and when we had Jay Wilson earlier, and we appreciate both of those guys coming on here, taking the time out of their day, and getting on the air with us. But as for the rest of this evening, I can't wait for our last interview. I'm really excited about it. It's with Benito Santiago. He is the starting catcher for the University of Tennessee, and he's been in that spot for the past 4 years. And he's his bat's really come around lately, and he's really trying to make that next step as he tries to get his draft stock a little higher going into the season. Now, last year's Tennessee baseball team you'll see and notice that they started out pretty well. They started out 9-1 and then on to 11-2 before the start of SEC play. And that was really the big issue with Dave Serrano and that baseball team is that they just could not put together the ball games that they needed to in SEC play. They got swept by South Carolina, they got swept by Mississippi State. They lost 2 out of 3 against Georgia, and then they went down to Florida. And one thing I noticed was that the team really, really played so well together that entire weekend. The players were allowed to play exactly how they want to play. You had guys like Reggie at shortstop, and he was making a lot of plays. Benny was catching, and he came up with a big RBI double to win the series in the 9th inning of that series, and it was a big moment for him. And then you move on to Auburn. You lose 2 out of 3 again. You lose 2 out of 3 to A&M. You beat Vanderbilt in a split series due to a rain out, and then you go on the road, get swept by Kentucky and Missouri to end the season. So deservingly not, the Vols did not make it to Hoover last year or the SEC tournament or any further, that is. And it's really disappointing because there was so much talent on that team that could have been used a little differently, and I think that ultimately was the reasoning of Dave Serrano's exit. So with the new head coach Tony Vitello coming in, I see a lot of confident kids. Brody Leffridge, he's another senior you're going to hear a lot of this year out there playing center field, and a lot of good freshmen are really coming in. And it's going to be very, very special season in Knoxville for Tennessee baseball. So without further ado, we might as well bring on the man himself, Benito Santiago. And Benny, as everyone calls you, what year are you here at UT or on the baseball team now?
I'm a senior.
And you play what position?
And I am a catcher from Miami, Florida.
And you've been a 4-year starter, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
All right. Well, this will be your 4th year starting. Is being a senior on this team any different than the previous years?
No, it just gets put on a higher pedestal. It's more of a leadership type role, and with my position, that's what I've been taught to be doing ever since I was little. So the leadership role doesn't really change.
What's the biggest difference in this year's team as to previous years?
It's more freely. We get to be ourselves. We get to just have fun and play baseball, and the motto that we've been living by every single day is just win the day and have the most fun that you can have.
Absolutely. So are you happy with this new coaching staff that's come in?
Very excited, very excited. We've had many changes, many positive vibes come in from this year as opposed from last year. And it's just looking like the program is taking a change.
Absolutely. What's something that you think that the team as a whole really needs to improve on going into this year?
Just changing the culture that's been set for the previous years with the old coaching staff, and we're just bringing positive vibes and having more fun than we've ever had.
Gotcha. What do you personally need to improve on your game this year?
Just learning the pitchers and getting more of a relationship with them, getting a bond with them, and the more relationships we have with the pitchers, the further we'll go. When
it comes to the pitchers, how many new guys are coming in here and guys that you have to learn from and learn new things about?
We have a lot of guys that are fairly new. Some of them are returners. We have freshmen that will definitely contribute. We have big guys in our staff that we count on that are freshmen, and that's the only way we get to as far as we can. Freshmen got to contribute.
How important is it to have that chemistry between a pitcher and a catcher?
It's extremely big. Extremely big. If you don't have chemistry and you don't have any life between you two, nothing will ever go far.
Gotcha. So, as an overall team, do you expect this team to be able to get back to Hoover and back into the regional talk?
With the culture change and having the most fun and being ourselves, I see ourselves past Hoover.
Well, that's good to hear. Good, Benny, I appreciate your time and good luck this year.
Thank you.
And once again, we thank our interviewees, Jay Wilson, R.B. Lounsbury, and of course Benito Santiago. They have been an absolute huge part of this show today, and we wouldn't have been here without them. So we thank you guys for coming on the air with us, and we thank you guys, the listeners, for tuning in and listening to Between the Post here on your brand new podcast. So we thank you guys again so much. Thanks to our sponsors. We got Sprite and we got Bojangles here with us today. And so we thank you so much for your time and listening. And catch us next week here on Between the Post. I'm Mitchell Thomas, signing off.